everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're doing a Q&A. So on December 11th of 2017, I posted my first video on Booktube, which means as of the day that I'm filming this, I have officially been on Booktube for 6 years. It feels crazy to say that number. It was the same year that I got married to my husband, so like I have my wedding anniversary in October and then I have my Booktube anniversary in December, and it's basically the same anniversary. 6 years being married, 6 years being on Booktube, and I want to say that I appreciate every single one of my subscribers so much, because I did start this 6 years ago because I really wanted to share my love of books, especially this way. I just absolutely love watching Booktube, and so I was like, you know what? I want to talk about books and talk to other people about books, and so this channel was born. However, I have realized recently, when I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do for my Booktube birthday, that I have never done like a Q&A, ask me anything type of thing. So what I did is I went onto my community tab here on Booktube as well as on Instagram and was like, hey, ask me anything, bookish related, non-bookish related, and we did get some questions, so that is what we're going to do today. I'm first going to go over to my YouTube channel community tab, just because I do have a couple questions there that I can actively pull up, and then I took some screenshots of the things from over on Instagram, so we will do those as well. I think most of these are book related, which does not surprise me, but I do think we have a couple other things that are not. So we will travel over to the community tab on YouTube first. The first question that I have here is, how do you make time for reading? So I do have quite a few books that I have read, especially with 2 kids. I know it seems absolutely ridiculous sometimes with how many books I have like on my list. Like, I'm trying to reach 150 this year. I'm currently at 139. But so my biggest thing is that like books are usually my extracurricular of choice. Let's go with that. Like, if I have a chance to do something during my time, it is most likely going to be reading. I do sometimes watch TV shows, movies. I really love video games, that kind of thing as well. I've been getting into my crochet a lot recently. Like, I literally have 5 balls of yarn right here on my desk. So I do other things as well, but I do feel like books are one of the things that I choose the most. I also find myself reading a lot after the kids go to bed. I've talked about this on my channel before, but I feel like it might be something that is just sort of like said in passing recently. It's not like something that is like a huge thing, but my husband and I co-sleep with my kids. So literally you'll have my husband, Presley, Elliot, me, all in bed. And this started back when Presley was a baby. My kids have to be touching me, usually me, sometimes my husband, like at all times while sleeping. So what we end up doing is getting the kids ready for bed and putting them to sleep, and then I just sort of sit in bed with them while they're sleeping next to me. And again, more often than not, I'm reading a book, sometimes a physical book. I have a book light that I absolutely love that has like 3 different intensities, so I can definitely read that way. I also find with my iPad I read that way as well. And then one thing that I have been bad about, because I'm not a very big audiobook person, but I've been doing better recently, especially since Presley has started preschool and I have to actually drive him to and from preschool. I've been listening to audiobooks in the car, and I do think that has definitely helped me with my reading. Let me go in and tell you exactly how many audiobooks I've listened to this year so far. 17. That is the most, and I will say right now, because I don't know how many I've read other years, that is the most amount of audiobooks that I've listened to in 1 year so far. I'm actually currently listening to another one, so when I finish that, it'll be number 18, and then I might have enough time to listen to one more by the end of December to maybe make it to 19 audiobooks. So that has definitely upped my game as well. But in general, I feel like it's mostly just like that is my priority hobby, is reading. The same person actually asked also, what are your all-time favorite books? So right behind me, I have a lot of things from videos here too, but I actually have a couple shelves that are like favorites shelves. A lot of the books that are on these shelves are ones that are relatively new favorites, ones that I read within this year, last year, that kind of thing. But I also do have some older favorites. Like I have The Host by Stephanie Meyer. This is a book that I first read, I think my freshman year of college is when it came out. So I was like 18 or 19. I absolutely love it. It is one of my favorite books, one that I have read multiple times. I've also read the entire Mortal Instruments series and a lot of the Shadowhunters books multiple times. Those are by Cassandra Clare. I feel like a lot of people know about those. Ready Player One is also an older favorite that I absolutely love. I actually moved some of the stacks off of here so that we can actually take a look and see. So these two shelves here, the ones that are the only rainbows that I have on my big shelves, these are some of my absolute favorites. Other ones that I have here are Song of the Sparrow by Lisa Ann Sandel. This is a book that I first read back in like high school maybe. Again, absolutely love. I read it, like reread it all the time. I also really love Anne of Green Gables. I don't have a lot of series on these favorite shelves because there's only 2 shelves worth, but like the Artemis Fowl series by Owen Colfer, which is a middle grade, I absolutely love. I've also really been enjoying Keeper of the Lost Cities, which is a middle grade. One of my favorite books of last year was Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. Another book that's like this horror sci-fi thing is coming out next year that I'm very excited for. I also have these indie short story collections. One is Monstrosity, one is In Absence by Laura Diaz de Arce. Absolutely love these. If you like short form fiction, like short story stuff that tend to be a little bit more horror but also have like very sentimental feelings for some of these ones, some fantasy, some sci-fi stuff, I absolutely love these. I have Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Like, I feel like a lot of these are very popular, but these are ones that I absolutely love. And then some ones that were my favorite this year that we will talk about, obviously, when we get closer to like the end of the year, beginning of next year. I have New Adult by Timothy Janowski, The Plus One by Maisie Eddings, Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, and The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. So these are ones that I absolutely love. There's other ones here, but like those shelves that I try to keep semi behind me that I hope you guys can see some of the time in these videos. I know I sometimes, with this chair, sit right in front of them, but like these are some of my absolute favorites, and they do switch out every so often, especially when I find new ones in that current year to absolutely fall in love with. Another person on the YouTube community page asks, worst book you ever read and why? So this is one that I haven't talked about too recently, but I've definitely talked about it on my channel. It is Free Chocolate by Amber Royer. This is one of those things where, I mean, I did read Rage by Stephen King this year, and it could definitely be that because it is so problematic. But when I'm talking about a book that I really wanted to read that sounded so good and then just did not live up to anything, even the summary on the back of the book, it's Free Chocolate. This is supposed to be a like sci-fi mystery, like big thing with different aliens and all this kind of stuff, and our main character is bilingual. It's not. It was so boring and so bad, and the writing was very stilted. One of the things that I absolutely did not like was we get this summary on the back talking about how she's going to like hide in this spaceship and how she has people after her, and getting to that part of the summary takes like 3/4 of the book, and so everything that led up to that part just felt like it took too long. And then the actual writing style was not something that I enjoyed. The bilingualism wasn't necessarily a bad thing like in concept. However, you can tell that this author is not a native bilingual like English Spanish speaker, because the parts that she would switch between English and Spanish were not natural. They just did not work. And then there was one thing that I always specifically pull up when I try and talk about why I did not like this book. And so there's one quote that I specifically use for any time people ask me why I didn't like the writing in this book, or actually maybe not even ask me why I didn't like the writing, why I didn't like this book. This is why. Now this is one entire sentence, just to be clear, one sentence. And it says, "This white blouse is so low cut it shows off a good bit of décolletage, and the word nut in my brain can't help but connect it by way of the Latin root word column for neck to decollate, an old-fashioned way to say behead." why? That was a lot of the book, trying to sound smarter than they needed to. Like, I just don't understand, like, why we needed to do all of that to just say that she was wearing a shirt that had like a v-neck. Like, why? They also asked most memorable book you've ever read. It doesn't have to be a favorite, just one that you could never forget, and if you'd recommend it to others. Oh goodness. I have a lot of things that I feel like could be very memorable, and a lot of the things to me is if they are memorable, it's probably something that's a favorite. Like, books to me, things that are gonna be like really, really good are gonna be something that evokes emotions for me, because I don't always necessarily remember all the little bits and pieces, and I'm just this is the hardest question. I did not prepare for any of this, in case you were not aware. I did not prepare for any of this. I'm gonna say, just because it's something that I've read recently but still really, really enjoyed, and so far when I've mentioned it on this channel, a lot of people, friends especially, have been like, you know what, I want to put that on my TBR and like try it out because it sounds very interesting. I am gonna say Prince and Assassin by Tavi Lark, just because this is one of those ones that I've read. It has not gone on my favorite shelf yet, but it definitely is. I think it might be my favorite book of the year. At least it is so far. We'll just have to see if I read anything else in December. But it is an indie book that was published in this pretty edition by Rainbow Crate, and it's male-male romance in a like queer normative world, and it's about a prince and an assassin, and the assassin is supposed to be on this job to, at a certain time, off the prince. And I really, really loved the characters and the writing style, and one of my favorite things, and I think this is why it makes it so memorable, is we do have giant cats here. I mean, this is a very foily part here, but like this giant cat, they're like fantasy cats in this world. Even here we have like a little cat here, but one of the cats has telepathy and one of the cats has telekinesis, and because one of the cats has telepathy, we actually get some like thoughts from them talking to our assassin character, mostly because of like the language that they speak in. And I just, that fact of it, I'm a very big cat person, I absolutely love that. But also just this story and this romance and everything, I really, really love this one. This is the first book in the series of like companion novels, and I love this edition and I love this book so much that I sort of want Rainbow Crate to do other editions of the other books. I don't know if they will, but like, I can't get this one out of my head, and it's mostly memorable because cats. Okay, we're gonna now move into the Instagram stuff. I have a question here. What character do you most relate to? I am not one of those people that sort of self-inserts. I know there was a big debate a couple years ago about like romance and people that really like first person versus third person, and like why they like first person is because they can sort of self-insert as the main character in a romance, and that's definitely not what I do. I feel like I relate more to the characters that are sort of like type A personality, because I definitely am a little bit more either like anxious or like the mom sort of character, like they're very in charge of certain things, the caretaker of the group. And so now that I'm talking about this, I do feel like maybe, I would say maybe like a little bit of like Charlie from The Charm Offensive, because of the fact that I do feel like he is a little bit anxious and a little bit uptight, and definitely has that more sort of personality there. Also, our female main character of Indira in the +1, she is like a therapist, and again, while she does have some of her own mental health things, especially like with anxiety and that kind of stuff, she feels like she's very helpful and that kind of thing. And I feel like going into that way, I always wanted to do psychology in college, and I just didn't, because there was no market for jobs after you graduate back when I was in school, and even now probably, unless you get like a master's or a doctorate. But I feel like that sort of specific area where you want to help people and you find yourself sort of being that mom character, that person who has most of their life together, even if it's not like 100%, but just like certain ways of it. I feel like that's sort of where I gravitate towards, and I really have been enjoying seeing those kind of characters in books recently. The next question, which fictional world would you most want to live in? somewhere that has a lot of books. So, I mean, I almost want to say Lord of the Rings, but like specifically Hobbiton, because I definitely feel like a Hobbit's lifestyle I could definitely get into. Like, not really any technology, just more like having fun, craft hobbies, and like books and food. Like, I'm definitely one of those people. But I also have recently read The Mysteries of Thorn Manor, which is the sequel, like novella sequel to Sorcery of Thorns, and this has some magic and stuff like that, but it also has books and like libraries in Sorcery of Thorns. And I feel like anything that has books and that kind of thing, I definitely would gravitate towards. The next question is, what is most important to you? Plot, character, writing style, or tone? Okay, so out of those four, I want to say tone is probably the least important. I mean, I do feel like it is something that is important, but it's not something that I necessarily pay attention to, or if I do, it's like in the back of my head. Like, I'm not like, oh, this tone was not to my liking. I will say writing style can be a very, very big one, just because if it's something that I don't like, even if I think I'm going to really, really enjoy the character and plot, if I can't get past the writing style, like, my brain can't comprehend it. Like, I don't like classics very much because I don't like whatever that time period is where like Jane Austen was writing, or like Charles Dickens sometimes. Like, that kind of stuff, my brain cuts out. Like, I just can't do that. If we're gonna say the writing style is great, I do need really, really good characters to care about the plot. So like, I guess writing style is probably one of the ones that is up there. However, I've read some books that objectively have bad writing, not too flowery, so it was still easy to read, but like objectively not the best writing style, but I still absolutely loved it. Like, I have some 5-star reads that I've rated on Goodreads where I know objectively it was really bad writing. Like, debut indie author where they've gotten much better, but they had such a good story to tell, such good characters to show us, that like, because it wasn't trying too hard to be flowery, you can still read it and be like, okay, I know that this isn't necessarily the best writing, but I really, really enjoy it. I don't think writing is necessarily the top one. Tone is definitely at the bottom. I think it probably has to go character, writing style, plot, maybe. Like, I live for the characters. The next one we have here, what is a book you wouldn't recommend to anyone but you adore? Ooh. Oh goodness, I feel like I still recommend a lot of books to people that I love. I mean, I want to say, so I recently sent a friend a like Christmas gift, a book, and I literally wrote on the paper that I know not everybody likes this book series, but I do, and since it was on your wish list, I sent it to you. It's the Foxhole Court series, the All for the Game series by Nora Sakavic. I know, again, not everybody likes them. The writing style, especially in the first one, not the best. It's not 100% grounded in reality, but I absolutely love it. But again, I know other people that I am friends with and I've talked to on Booktube that do love this as well. So it's not like there's not a market for it. Ooh, is there anything that I actually have that I'd be like, yeah, I absolutely love that, but I don't know if anybody else would? You know, I think that's gonna be the closest we get to, because again, I don't think I have anything that I would like never recommend to anybody. Because if I love it, I at least want somebody to read it, even if they don't like it the same way I do. And then the next one we have here is, what is a hyped book you don't understand the popularity of? Okay, so I don't think necessarily hyped book, but I do think maybe authors, and there's a couple of them that come to mind immediately, and these are just people that like I personally have never tried, so I can't say that like I've read it and don't understand it. I have never read them. I don't plan on reading them. It's just, I don't know, in my head, they're very, very hyped, and I don't think I'm ever gonna read them, so in that way, I don't understand it. One is Colleen Hoover. None of her books have ever sounded appealing to me, but I know some people absolutely love them. And then the other one is Tessa Bailey, which does romance and stuff like that, but again, a lot of the ones that I've heard of, the summaries that I've heard of, especially some of her older like backlist stuff, are just things that I don't think I've ever been interested in. And so they are both very, very hyped. Like, I know Tessa Bailey has a new book coming out near the beginning of 2024 that some people are already itching for, and I just literally have like no care. Like, I'm just unconcerned. So like, I don't even have any hatred for them. I've never tried it. I've never disliked them. It's just I don't have any interest in it. How did you discover your love of reading? And this is one of those things where I feel like there might be some people that are actually able to pinpoint when they discover their love of reading. I don't have like very specific memories from when I was really, really young in childhood, but apparently I've been reading since I was at least 3 or 4. Like, my mom said I picked it up very, very early, and so I just have memories of being in school or being at home even and like reading. Like, again, that was my choice of hobby. That was the thing I was doing if I wasn't outside playing with friends. Like, I was reading. I actually, when I was younger, if I got in trouble and got grounded, I got grounded from reading. And like, I know this is not the same as like kids nowadays and people nowadays. Like, we had a computer at home, and I feel like around like 4th or 5th grade, we actually had some like learning games like clue finders and things. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. We had like Oregon Trail and things like that. We had some games and stuff, but we didn't have the same access to technology and like the internet or anything like that that we have nowadays. And so you did have to have some of these other hobbies. Like, you either had stuff on the TV or books and stuff, but like, I don't remember when I first picked up books and like loved it. Like, it's always been a part of me, like 100%, always. I have always had books around me. One of my favorite things to do as a preteen even was convince my grandma to take me to the bookstore so I could go look at books for hours. And like, again, back in the day, you would go to the books, you would go to that section, and I would literally walk down the shelves looking up and down. I would find myself sitting on the floor reading the summaries from the back of the books, and I would do that for hours. Like, she was one of the only people that would take me to the bookstore because of the fact that I would take so long. So like, books have always been a part of my life. Okay, and then we also have somebody else who asked for a dream holiday. So my original answer for this would have been what we ended up doing on my honeymoon with my husband and I. So before we had any kids and anything, we didn't go right after our wedding, but we went like the next year. We went on this whole trip through the UK and Ireland. So we went to London, we went to Cardiff in Wales, we went to Edinburgh, and then we went to Dublin, and then we went back to London. It was like a whole 2-week trip. I absolutely love that one. But nowadays that I've been talking to my husband, I think I really want to do like an Australia, New Zealand thing. Like, I have 100% always been into Lord of the Rings. Like, I remember when the first movie came out, because that's what introduced me to the books and everything. Like, I watched the first movie, read all the books before movie 2 came out, and I always asked for like the huge box set DVDs, like the ones that had like 4 different DVDs in it, for Christmas every year. Like, that was my special big present that I got every year those movies came out. And so I've always wanted to go see Hobbiton and like that kind of thing. But just in general, I have some friends in Australia that I think would be really fun to see, and it's like the complete opposite side of the world from here is what it feels like. Like, it just seems like it would be something so fun and so different. So yeah, I think that would be the next sort of like dream holiday vacation. And then it looks like our last question we have here is favorite Booktube moment. There's been a lot of times on Booktube where I've just like looked back very, very fondly. Like, I absolutely love doing this, but I want to say probably just because it's something that like I did and so I have extra fond memories for it, is my Choose Your Own Adventure readathon. We've done 2 rounds of this. One was in 2021, one was this year in 2023. It is a lot of work to set up because it's not just like, here's your prompts for the readathon. I literally go through and write an entire story out with different options for what you can choose to do, and depending on what you choose, that's the different prompts you get. But I love talking with everybody in the Discord and everything for that as we go through it. I love seeing everybody's reactions to the different choices that you make and the different reactions you have to like the different prompts that come with those, or the consequences of your actions through that. And so I feel like probably because it's something that I've sort of like curated for myself, I absolutely love that. But I think the biggest thing with this channel is just I love interacting with people like you guys that have, you know, interests in books, and so being able to share different book recommendations, and like being able to, for me at least, to like create the prompts that go with a story and like the different decisions, and then seeing what kind of books you guys choose to fit those prompts, and like being able to discuss it and talk about it would definitely be one. I think also, again, something that I sort of curated was like my book club, which I had to stop about halfway through this year just because life got crazy. I'm hoping to actually start that up again in January with a little bit of a different twist on it. But again, that whole sort of like reaching out and interacting with people and being able to like read books and talk about them and like having that community aspect, because I love Booktube. I love being able to like do this and like just like rip my heart out and share everything with you guys. I like getting something back. I like being able to discuss and all that kind of thing. Like just being able to do that, I think, is the big thing. So specifically the readathon, because that was a lot of fun to do, but being able to like share it with you all. And then also the book club is sort of like in that vein. I think those are probably my favorite moments because it's something that like I did and had people really enjoy doing with me. So like I said, I think that was our last question here today. I had a lot of fun doing this. Let me know if you'd like to ever have this happen again, because I do feel like this is something that could be really fun. And yeah, I think this was a good thing to do because like I said, I've never really done one like this before. And so for my 6 years on Booktube now, it just felt very, very fitting. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I will see you then. Bye.